Confederation of International Football Association. Officially, they announced the lifting of the 18-month suspension imposed on Zimbabwe Football Association, ZIFA, on Monday, now marking a significant turning point for the troubled organization. This crucial development comes just days before the draw of the African qualification competition for the 2026 World Cup, now setting stage for Zimbabwe's potential participation in the global football showpiece once again. To ensure a smooth transition and restore stability between ZIFA, an interim normalization committee has been appointed to take charge of the association's affairs until elections can be held to establish a new management. But the big question is what lies ahead for ZIFA as FIFA has lifted this suspension imposed on them sometime last year. We've got joining us Harare Trusida, a sports editor from Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Harare. Hello, Harare. Can you hear me?
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right, you can hear me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We celebrate with you this recent development that brings Zimbabwe back into international football. Now, it has been a very awful, cold and a bad taste to have been left out of the world of football on the continental scene and also on the European scene. How do you feel about this, Harare, at this news coming in from FIFA?
Well, definitely, it has been a very, very cold time, and even colder than the weather today right here in Harare. But I can tell you that it's time for celebration for everyone involved with Zimbabwean football, because everyone is happy that the country is back within the international circles. You remember that Zimbabwe was banned over a year ago, precisely in February last year, over what they termed government influence. And through the course of those 1 year, 6 months, a lot has been happening, engagements with the Sports and Recreation Commission, that is the government's arm that is in charge of running sport in Zimbabwe. They've engaged FIFA, and they've been talking to FIFA, and finally FIFA has managed to probably hear their side of the story. Because if you look at everything, if you look at from the message that FIFA brought through yesterday from the communique from FIFA yesterday, they clearly mentioned the issues that the Sports and Recreation Commission have always been raising, the issues to do with sexual harassment and the need for an audit. All these issues were what the SRC was always talking about. So it's a bit sad that it took more than a year for FIFA to finally understand what the Sport and Recreation Commission has been talking about. But be that as it may, you know, there's always a time for everything. Maybe it is the right time for Zimbabwean football to take this direction.
Okay.
Maybe this suspension will also help Zimbabwean football in finding itself. Because you remember with Zimbabwean football, just to give you a bit of background, there's always been a challenge with the electorate for that is the ZIFA presidents, because it is voted for by these what are called the ZIFA councillors. These are the chairpersons of the various regions, the chairpersons of clubs, then also the chairpersons of area zone clubs and stuff. And these include some people who are no longer really involved in day-to-day running of football.
Okay.
So that's always been bringing in some challenges.
All right, but should we be happy, Harare, about this, the lifting of the ban, amid the non-availability of infrastructure? I remember that Confederation of African Football did disqualify Zimbabwe Stadium. They were not in good state to host competition. We have also seen players refusing to play due to unpaid salaries. We've seen them complaining that they cannot afford tickets. Where do we go from here? Should we be happy the upliftment of this ban, or you think it's a call, a charge for us to do better on the African scene and also for Zimbabwe Football Association?
I think it's actually a time to celebrate. Yes, the stadium might not be ready, but already the Ministry of Sport has also been making sure that they spruce up the facility. Works have already started, and it's not in a very bad state as many people would want to think about it. It's actually in, probably we can say that it's probably 3/4 of the way. The biggest issue has to do with bucket seats, but I'm reliably informed that government is found a partner that is already making consultations and making feasibility studies to make sure that the stadium is ready, and that they've given themselves a timeline up to the end of the year to make sure that it's ready for international matches. So I'm certainly happy that that this has been happening, and I think probably we should start being happy that Zimbabwe is back in international football. That's the then as we go forward, we can always look at other things.
Okay, but the sport minister did say, Kirsty Coventry, she says she would not like FIFA to uplift that ban until you put your house together. Now, the sport minister did not want the upliftment, but what is the feeling in the air after this upliftment, after this announcement by FIFA to organize a normalization committee to chair the local administrator in Zimbabwe?
Okay, I think, yeah, no, everyone wanted things to come out of to finality, because the issues that were raised were really pertinent, not just in sport, but in everyone's life. So they wanted things to come to a finality. Now we have a normalization committee that seems that you have pleased a lot of people when it comes to the Zimbabwean football community, because it is a representation of a respected person who once led Zimbabwe's biggest club, that is Dynamo's early in the 80s. And then it also is representation from former players and former coaches, the former captain of the women's team, as well as a legal practitioner. So I think generally there's a consensus that this probably will be the best people that have been given this job to take Zimbabwe forward. Remember, they only have a year or less to make sure that they organize elections and put everything in order.
All right. Can we get an update into the resolutions made today at the press briefing by the SRS, that's SRC, I beg your pardon. Can we get an update?
Okay, so basically, the resolutions were met. There was a FIFA representative, that was Solomon Mdege, who's the FIFA head of development programs in Africa. There was also a representative from the regional body, that is COSAFA, and as well as the minister was there, as well as also members of the Sports and Recreation Commission and the media. And on top of that, there are a lot of people who gathered through just to make sure that they get to hear what was being said. And basically, FIFA has also tasked the normalization committee rather to work with the Sport and Recreation Commission together with the minister to make sure that firstly, there is an audit that is instituted at ZIFA, and also to make sure that they run the day-to-day affairs of ZIFA. You remember that the chief executive officer of ZIFA was also part of the team that was suspended. His suspension was later rescinded, but he refused to come back to work. And then also they've been tasked to make sure that in terms of all these issues to do with sexual harassment, they are also dealt with. If there is need to bring in the law enforcement, so it should be done. So these are the things that FIFA has basically tasked the normalization committee to do together with the help of the Sports and Recreation Commission. And they've also said that communications and engagement should also be continuing between FIFA and Zimbabwe to make sure that the football does not get back to where it was probably in the last year and before the suspension of the Felton Kamambole and the ZIFA board.
All right, we'll be waiting that every single decision that has been made by the SRC come to fruition. Thank you so much, Larry Terusa, for joining us on the show today. We appreciate all that you've unpacked for us concerning the Zimbabwe Football Association.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
It's a pleasure to have you.